I should have known something was wrong when Marcus texted me he'd be 15 minutes late, then 30, then an hour. I sat there at that corner table in Giovanni's, a white tablecloth restaurant in downtown Chicago that was way too expensive for a first date, watching couples lean into each other over candlelight while I pretended to study the menu for the 4th time. The waiter had already refilled my water glass twice, his eyes full of pity I didn't want to see. My best friend Rachel had set this up. She'd been so excited talking about how Marcus was perfect for me, a finance guy, stable, good-looking, ready to settle down. I'd spent 2 hours getting ready, choosing this navy dress that made me feel confident, curling my hair until it fell just right. I'd even splurged on new heels that were already making my feet ache. "Can I get you started with anything while you wait?" the waiter asked gently. He was young, maybe 25, with kind eyes. "Just a few more minutes," I said, forcing a smile that felt like glass cutting my face. That's when I saw it. The Instagram story. Marcus at a sports bar across town, arm around a blonde woman, both of them laughing into the camera. Posted 12 minutes ago. Something cold settled in my stomach. Not heartbreak. We'd never even met. But humiliation. Thick and heavy, like I'd swallowed stones. I'd been sitting here alone for over an hour, and he was out with someone else, not even bothering to send a proper cancellation text. I reached for my purse, ready to leave. Ready to walk out of this restaurant and never think about Marcus or blind dates or my own stupid hope ever again. But before I could stand, the waiter returned. He was holding a dozen red roses. "Miss," he said quietly, "these are for you." I stared at the flowers, confusion replacing humiliation. "I think there's been a mistake." "No mistake." He set them gently on the table. "Compliments of Mr. Castellano. He asked me to tell you that any man who would stand you up doesn't deserve to breathe the same air as you." I looked around the restaurant, searching for whoever had sent these, but the waiter was already walking away. That's when I noticed him. He sat in the back corner booth, partially hidden in shadow. Even from across the room, I could see the dark ink covering his forearms, visible where his crisp white shirt was rolled to his elbows. He was watching me with an intensity that should have been uncomfortable, but somehow wasn't. When our eyes met, he raised his glass slightly, a gesture that was part acknowledgement, part question. I should have looked away, should have grabbed my purse, taken the roses, and left. But something in his expression held me there. It wasn't pity like the waiter's. It was recognition, like he knew exactly what it felt like to be the person everyone underestimated. He stood then, moving with a kind of controlled grace that made people instinctively step aside. Up close, he was younger than I'd thought, maybe early 30s, with dark hair and eyes that seemed to catalog everything about me in seconds. The tattoos extended up his neck in intricate patterns, not the amateur work you see on every college kid, but expensive, deliberate art. "I hope I didn't overstep," he said. His voice was low, cultured, with just a hint of something that suggested English wasn't his first language. "But I've been watching you sit here with such dignity for the past hour, and I couldn't stand by and let that continue without at least acknowledging it." "You've been watching me?" I should have been creeped out. Instead, I was curious. "This is my restaurant," he said simply. "I notice everything that happens here, especially when someone is being disrespected at one of my tables. Your restaurant." I looked around Giovanni's with new eyes. This place had been a Chicago institution for decades, known for its old-world elegance and rumored connections to families who operated in the gray spaces of the law. "Dante Castellano," he said, extending his hand. I knew that name. Everyone in Chicago knew that name, even if they pretended not to. The Castellanos owned half the city's finest restaurants, several high-end clubs, and allegedly, a network of less legitimate enterprises that the FBI had been investigating for years. I should have made an excuse and left. This was not the kind of man you got involved with if you wanted a simple, stable life. But when I took his hand, something electric passed between us, and I found myself saying my name like it was a secret I was trusting him with. "Emma. Emma," he repeated, making it sound like something valuable. "Would you do me the honor of joining me for dinner? I promise the food here is excellent, and the company will be significantly better than the one you were expecting." This was insane. I didn't know this man. He was clearly dangerous in ways I couldn't even fully comprehend. Every rational part of my brain was screaming at me to politely decline. "Yes," I heard myself say. His smile was slow, transforming his face from intimidating to devastatingly handsome. Excellent choice. He led me to his booth, and I noticed how the staff moved around him with practiced efficiency, how other diners watched him with a mixture of respect and wariness. The table was already set for one, but within seconds, another place setting appeared as if by magic. "Tell me, Emma," he said once we were seated, "what does a man have to do in this city to deserve a woman like you getting dressed up for him?" "Apparently just show up," I said, surprised by my own boldness. He laughed, a genuine sound that made warmth spread through my chest. The bar is remarkably low. Over dinner, he asked me questions no one on a first date had ever asked. Not the usual, "Where did you go to school? What do you do for work?" surface stuff, though that came up too. He wanted to know what made me angry, what I'd wanted to be when I was 7, what I thought about when I couldn't sleep at night. I found myself telling him things I'd never told anyone. About my mother who died when I was 16, how I still sometimes picked up the phone to call her before remembering. About my job as a graphic designer that paid the bills but didn't feed my soul. About how I'd been going through the motions of life, dating men my friends set me up with, waiting for something I couldn't name to finally begin. "And tonight?" he asked. "When you got dressed up for this Marcus person, what were you hoping for?" I considered the question seriously. Honestly, I think I was hoping to feel something. Anything. I've been so numb for so long, I thought maybe if I just went through the right motions, took the right steps, eventually I'd wake up and find myself in a life that felt like mine. And instead, you got stood up. Instead, I got stood up, I agreed. But then I got roses from a stranger and the best conversation I've had in years, so I'm calling it a net positive. Something shifted in his expression. "I'm not a good man, Emma. I want you to know that before this goes any further. I know who you are," I said quietly. "Or at least I know what people say about you. And you're still here. I'm still here." He reached across the table, his fingers brushing mine. The touch sent electricity up my arm. "I can't offer you the simple life you probably deserve, the man your friends want you to be with. But I can promise you this. If you let me, I will make you feel everything. Every moment with me will be real. Dangerous sometimes, complicated often, but never numb. Never going through the motions." I knew I should think about this. Sleep on it. Make a pros and cons list like I did with every major decision. But for once in my careful, measured life, I didn't want to be sensible. "I don't want simple," I said. "I want real." That was 3 months ago. I didn't understand then what I was agreeing to. How loving Dante Castellano would mean existing in a world where danger was always present but never discussed. Where his phone would ring at 2 a.m. and he'd have to leave without explanation. Where I'd learn to read the tension in his shoulders, to know when something had gone wrong in his business, the legitimate side or the other. He never lied to me about what he was, but he protected me too, keeping me separate from the parts of his life that could hurt me. I met his family, his mother who treated me like a daughter from our first meeting, his younger sister who pulled me into their loud, chaotic Sunday dinners without hesitation. I learned that the man who terrified his enemies read poetry in Italian when he couldn't sleep and had been supporting a children's hospital anonymously for years. But I also learned what it meant to be with someone the FBI was watching. To have my phone tapped, my movements documented. To see the way people looked at me when they found out who I was dating, some fearful, some disgusted, some pitying. Rachel stopped talking to me. She called Dante a criminal, said I'd lost my mind, that I was throwing my life away for some fantasy that would end badly. Maybe she was right. Maybe I was deluding myself. But when Dante looked at me, I felt seen in a way I never had before. When he touched me, I felt alive. "You could do better than me," he said one night as we lay in his penthouse apartment overlooking the city. "You should do better than me." Better doesn't mean anything if it doesn't feel right, I told him. But lately, I'd been wondering if feeling right was enough. The federal investigation was intensifying. Dante's lawyer had been by 3 times this week. I'd overheard conversations that ended abruptly when I entered the room. And last night, I'd found him standing by the window at 3 in the morning, drink in hand, looking more troubled than I'd ever seen him. "Talk to me," I'd said. "I can't pull you into this," he'd replied. "I'm already in this. I chose this. Let me help." He'd turned to me then, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Fear. "They're going to indict me," he said quietly. "Next month, maybe sooner. My lawyer thinks they have enough to make charges stick. I'm looking at serious time, Emma. Years." The floor dropped out from under me. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying you should walk away now, while you still can, before your name gets dragged through this any further." "Is that what you want?" I asked, my voice barely steady. "What I want doesn't matter. What's best for you?" "Don't," I cut him off. "Don't make this decision for me. If you want me to leave, tell me, but don't hide behind noble intentions." He crossed the room in 2 strides, pulling me against him. "I don't want you to leave. God. Emma, I don't want you to leave. But staying with me could ruin your life. And leaving you would ruin me," I said. "So where does that put us?" That was yesterday. Today, I sat in a coffee shop 2 blocks from my apartment, turning his words over in my mind. The smart thing would be to walk away, protect myself, go back to my safe, numb life and find some nice, stable man who didn't come with FBI investigations and potential prison time. But I kept thinking about that first night, about sitting alone in that restaurant, going through the motions, waiting for my life to start. And then Dante had sent roses, had seen me, had made me feel like I mattered in a way that had nothing to do with being convenient or appropriate or safe. My phone buzzed. A text from Dante. "Dinner tonight? I have something important to ask you." My heart stuttered. Important could mean a lot of things. It could mean he was ending this, making the decision I couldn't make. Or it could mean something else entirely. I texted back, "Giovanni's, 7 p.m. His response came immediately. "Perfect. I love you." Those 3 words still had the power to undo me. I typed them back, meaning them more than I'd ever meant anything. That evening, I wore the same navy dress from our first night. When I walked into Giovanni's, Dante was already there at his usual booth. He stood when he saw me, and the look on his face made my breath catch. "You wore the dress," he said. Seemed appropriate for the place where my life actually started. He took my hands, and I felt them trembling slightly. Dante Castellano, who faced down federal prosecutors and rival families without flinching, was nervous. "Emma, these past 3 months have been the best of my life," he began. "You walked into my restaurant on what should have been the worst night, and you chose to see me, really see me, when you had every reason to run. You've met my family, stood by me when your friends turned their backs, loved me despite knowing exactly who and what I am." He reached into his pocket, and time seemed to slow down. "I have spent my entire life building empires and fortunes, controlling outcomes, making sure I was never vulnerable to anyone. And then you sat at that table, dignified and alone, and I realized I'd been waiting for you without even knowing it." He dropped to one knee. The restaurant went silent. I was vaguely aware of other diners watching, of staff pausing mid-movement, but all I could see was Dante, holding a ring that caught the candlelight like captured stars. "I can't promise you an easy life. I can't promise you that loving me won't come with complications and difficulties and moments where you question this choice. But I can promise you that every single day, I will make sure you know you matter, that you're seen, that choosing me was choosing something real." Tears were streaming down my face now. "Emma, will you marry me?" I thought about Rachel's warnings, about the FBI investigation and the uncertain future, about the safe, simple life I could have if I walked away right now, about all the rational reasons to say no. And then I thought about sitting alone at that table 3 months ago, going through the motions, waiting for my life to begin. "Yes," I said, my voice strong and clear. "Yes, I'll marry you." He stood, slipping the ring on my finger, and kissed me like we were the only two people in the world. Around us, the restaurant erupted in applause, but I barely heard it. "You're sure about this?" he whispered against my lips. "Even with everything coming?" "Especially with everything coming," I said. "You taught me something that night, Dante. You taught me that the worst thing isn't choosing wrong. It's not choosing at all. It's sitting at that table alone, waiting for someone else to decide your life is worth showing up for." His arms tightened around me. "I will show up for you every single day for the rest of my life." "I know," I said. "That's why I'm choosing this. Not despite the complications, but because you're worth them. Because feeling everything with you is better than feeling nothing without you." Later, as we sat at our table with champagne the waiter had brought without being asked, Dante took my hand. "I have to tell you something," he said. "The indictment? My lawyer found a way. It's not guaranteed, but there's a real chance I can avoid serious time. I didn't want to tell you before because I didn't want you to say yes because things might be okay. I needed to know you'd choose me even when things were at their worst. I should have been angry that he'd tested me. Instead, I understood. You needed to know I'd stay. I needed to know you'd stay," he confirmed. "Because Emma, you could have anyone. You could have the simple, easy life. And I needed to know that you'd choose this, choose us, even when it was hard." "I chose you the moment you sent those roses," I said. "Everything since then has just been me catching up to what I already knew." He kissed my hand right over the ring. "Thank you for staying at that table long enough for me to find you. Thank you for seeing me when everyone else was looking through me." As we left the restaurant that night, hand in hand, I thought about Marcus and that blind date that never happened. Somewhere in this city, he was probably still posting Instagram stories, completely unaware that his thoughtlessness had changed the entire trajectory of my life. I used to think love was supposed to be easy, that the right person would fit seamlessly into your existing life, requiring no disruption, no sacrifice, no risk. But Dante had taught me something different. He'd taught me that real love isn't about finding someone who makes your life easier. It's about finding someone who makes your life matter. Someone who sees you clearly and chooses you anyway. Someone worth disrupting everything for. My phone buzzed as we walked to his car. A text from Rachel. "Saw the engagement announcement. I hope you know what you're doing." I looked at Dante, at the man who'd sent roses to a stranger being stood up, who'd offered me real instead of simple, who'd gotten down on one knee even knowing I might say no. I texted back, "I do. For the first time in my life, I really do." And as Dante opened the car door for me, I realized something. That night when I sat alone at Giovanni's, I thought I'd been waiting for a date that never showed up. But I hadn't been waiting for Marcus. I'd been waiting for the courage to choose the life I actually wanted instead of the one everyone thought I should have. Dante hadn't rescued me that night. He'd simply seen me clearly enough to remind me I was worth showing up for. And in doing so, he'd given me permission to finally show up for myself. Sometimes the worst thing that can happen to you turns out to be the best thing that ever could have. Sometimes getting stood up leads you exactly where you were always meant to be. And sometimes the most dangerous choice is also the truest one. I chose danger. I chose truth. I chose Dante. And I would make that choice again every single day for the rest of my life.